If the theater goes silent, don't look at the stage. I used to love the old Rialto Theater in my town. To anyone else it was a ruin, peeling paint, broken chandeliers, velvet curtains rotting from age, but to me, it was a sanctuary. The theater had a kind of haunted beauty, a space where you could lose yourself in stories and forget how empty the town outside had become. I took a part-time job there as an usher, which meant most nights I was sweeping popcorn from the aisles and scrubbing spilled sodas from the carpet. It wasn't glamorous, but it kept me close to the place I loved. The theater always felt alive. The projector's steady hum, the whisper of audience chatter, even the groaning seats, those little noises kept the building breathing. That's why the first night it happened will never leave me. The movie had ended, and I stayed behind to finish cleaning. The projector rattled softly as black and white credits rolled across the screen. And then, without warning, the hum cut off. The screen went black. The theater fell silent. It wasn't the kind of silence you notice when a machine stops. It was thick, absolute, crushing. I couldn't hear the traffic outside, or the building's creaks, or even the sound of my own breath. I opened my mouth, tried to gasp, but it felt like the air itself had been stolen. That's when I heard the first sound, the soft scrape of heavy curtains dragging open on the stage. I wanted to run. I should have. But instead, I turned my head toward the stage. The red velvet curtains were slowly parting, and something was coming through. At first, I thought it was a costumed actor, some prank from the staff, but the figure was all wrong. It was tall, too tall, its body wrapped in shreds of velvet and lace that trailed across the floor like shadows. Its limbs bent strangely, like they hadn't been designed for human movement. And its face, God, its face, was a pale stretch of skin where features should have been, with only a wide, lipless mouth hanging open, too large, too dark, too hungry. The silence deepened as it stepped out. Every movement made the world heavier. I dropped my broom, but it didn't even make a sound when it hit the floor. The figure turned its head slightly, like it was listening for me, and I realized in that instant that if I moved, if I made even the faintest sound, it would know exactly where I was. Somehow, I forced myself not to breathe, not to move. Then, just as suddenly as it began, the projector crackled back to life. The figure froze, then melted back behind the curtain as though it had never been there. I ran home that night, shaking so badly I almost couldn't get my key into the lock. But when I emptied my cleaning bag, I found something I hadn't put there, a folded sheet of parchment, yellowed and brittle, with ink scrawled across it. It was titled, "Rules to Survive the Stage Keeper." 1. If the projector goes silent, do not look at the stage. The stage keeper emerges when the world forgets to make noise. 2. If you hear curtains dragging, close your eyes immediately. It cannot harm what it cannot see. 3. Do not sit in the front row. Anyone seated there when the silence falls will not rise again. They will become part of the backdrop. 4. If the stage keeper offers you a mask, do not take it. To wear it is to give up your face forever. 5. When the projector restarts, count to 10 before moving. The stage keeper lingers for just a moment, watching, waiting to see who breaks the rules. I didn't want to believe them. I told myself it was a joke, some urban legend passed among staff. But the very next night, as I was sweeping, the hum of the projector cut out again. The silence came, thick and absolute. This time, I squeezed my eyes shut, heart pounding so hard I thought it would crack my ribs. I heard it, the dragging of the curtains, the slow scrape of feet across the stage. It moved closer, closer, until I could feel a weight bearing down on me, like it was towering over where I stood. Then, I swear this is true, I felt hot breath on my cheek. I almost screamed, but before I could, the projector buzzed back to life. And just like before, it vanished. I followed the rules after that. I kept my eyes closed. I avoided the front row. But I started to notice other things. The audience didn't react when the silences happened. They kept watching the film as if nothing had changed, like they couldn't feel the air being stolen from the world. I once saw a woman in the front row vanish mid-screening, her seat empty in one instant, a mask hanging from it in the next. Nobody else noticed. Nobody screamed. They just kept watching the film. The last night I worked there, I broke one of the rules. Not on purpose. The projector went silent, and I shut my eyes. I heard the stage keeper moving, slow and heavy, dragging its shrouded form down the aisle. I counted the seconds in my head, waiting for the projector to buzz back, but it didn't. My heart hammered, and I lost count. Panic set in. And I opened my eyes. It was inches away from me. Its pale, stretched face leaned down, its wide mouth opening wider, impossibly wide, revealing nothing inside, just a hollow blackness that swallowed the side of the theater around it. And in its hands, it held something out to me. A mask. It was cracked porcelain, painted with the expression of a frozen scream. I almost took it. My hands twitched, reaching without my permission. But then, at the last possible moment, the projector sputtered to life. The figure froze, its mouth snapping shut, and it dissolved back behind the curtains. The mask clattered to the floor, but when I blinked, it was gone. I quit the next day. I thought I was free of it. But the silences followed me. They happen in my living room now, in the supermarket, even when I'm driving. And when they do, I swear I hear curtains dragging somewhere nearby. Sometimes, when I pass by reflective glass, I think I see a porcelain mask hanging in the air just behind me. I know it's only a matter of time. One night, the projector won't restart. And when that happens, I don't think the stagekeeper will offer me a mask again. I think it'll simply take my face for its own. And when you sit down in the theater, maybe you'll see me in the backdrop, frozen forever in that silent scream. The strange thing is, I wasn't alone. That night after I wrote the rules, I thought maybe I could outsmart whatever owned the theater. I thought the list of rules was enough, but I was wrong. I heard about others, strangers online who swore the same theater showed up in their towns, always abandoned, always with that flickering marquee advertising one night only. They never admitted to stepping inside, but their descriptions matched mine perfectly: red velvet seats, gold-trimmed curtains, and that smell of dust mixed with iron. A couple of them went missing not long after. I thought it was coincidence. Now, I'm not so sure. The night I broke the rules, I wasn't even trying to. I had been keeping my head down, eyes on the exit, when the silence came. A silence so sharp it hurt my ears, like the air had been sucked out of the world. I froze, heart pounding, but then something shifted on the stage. I didn't look, not directly, but I saw it move in my peripheral vision. Something tall, something impossibly thin, its limbs bending wrong as it pushed through the curtain like wet cloth. I tried to close my eyes, but my instincts betrayed me. I glanced, just for half a second. And that was enough. What I saw wasn't human. Its skin looked like stretched parchment, tight over jagged bones. Its mouth was sewn shut with something that wasn't thread, but blackened veins pulsing faintly as though alive. Where its eyes should have been were hollow sockets, empty and deep, yet I felt them drilling into me. The thing knew I had broken the rule, and the air grew heavier, pressing on my chest like invisible hands. I couldn't scream, couldn't even breathe. All I could do was listen as the silence thickened, and in that silence, I heard something worse than any sound: the rustle of hundreds of bodies shifting in the seats behind me. I hadn't come alone after all. I ran. God help me, I bolted for the aisle, feet tangling in the faded carpet. The curtains tore behind me with a sound like splitting flesh, and something long and dry dragged itself onto the stage. I didn't dare turn around, but I felt it follow. The air quivered with the weight of it, like the entire building leaned forward. My lungs burned, my heart slammed so hard I thought my ribs would break, but I kept running until I hit the lobby. The silence broke there, just a faint creak of the door behind me, and that tiny sound was the loudest, most beautiful noise I'd ever heard. I slammed the exit open, stumbled into the cold night, and didn't stop running until my legs gave out. But here's the part that doesn't make sense. I woke up the next morning in my own bed, shoes still muddy, my clothes torn. For a moment, I thought it had been a nightmare, some fever dream burned into my brain. Then I noticed something on my wrist. A red stamp, faint but clear, like the kind they use in clubs or concerts. It just said, "Admit 1." No matter how much I scrubbed, it wouldn't fade. Even now, weeks later, it's still there. And at night, when I lie awake, I swear I can feel something pulling at it, like the stamp isn't just ink, but a mark, an invitation. Last night, it happened again. I walked home from work, and when I turned the corner onto my street, the theater was there. But it shouldn't have been. There's no building on that block, just an empty lot that's been there for years. Yet the marquee glowed, buzzing faintly with that same cursed message: "One night only." The glass doors reflected the streetlights, and for a heartbeat, I saw my own reflection staring back. Except it wasn't quite me. The reflection's mouth was sewn shut. I don't think I escaped that night. I think I was marked, claimed. Maybe writing this down is pointless, maybe it just makes it easier for the theater to find you too. But I can't stay silent anymore. The rules aren't just warnings, they're a leash, one I snapped without meaning to. Now I can hear the silence creeping into my world, stretching into moments it shouldn't exist. Sometimes when I'm in a crowded room, the noise cuts out all at once. Everyone freezes. Everyone but me. And then I feel it watching from just behind my shoulder, waiting for me to slip. So if you see the marquee, if the theater shows up in your town, don't go inside. Don't even stop to stare. Keep walking, no matter how heavy your feet feel. And if you do step in, if the silence falls and your instincts scream at you to look at the stage, don't. Because once you see it, once you notice the thing wearing silence like a second skin, it notices you back. And once it notices, there's no running. The stamp will find you. The curtain will open. And when it does, you'll join me, frozen in the backdrop. Just another part of the show, mouth sewn shut, screaming into a silence no one else can hear. But that's not the end. The silence isn't empty, it's alive. You'll feel it first in your bones, the way the cold seeps past your skin and curls inside your marrow. The theater walls will seem to stretch and contract, breathing in time with your panicked heart. Shadows you thought were carved into the stage curtains will shift, crawling upward like insects scurrying from light. And then you'll notice the faces, hundreds of them, plastered against the theater's inner walls like masks nailed into the plaster. They're pale, slack, drained of life, yet their eyes will follow you, pleading, begging for something you can't give. The silence gnaws at your ears until you start to hear things that shouldn't exist. A whisper too low for words, a scraping too sharp for movement, a rhythm too steady for chance. You'll try to convince yourself it's just the building settling, that theaters are always strange when empty. But you'll know you're lying to yourself when you see the curtain twitch, as though something behind it just drew breath. You'll want to leave, but the door you came in through won't be there anymore. Instead, you'll find endless rows of seats stretching into the dark, each one occupied by a shape hunched forward, staring at the stage with devotion carved into their faces. You'll take a step, and every head will turn toward you in perfect unison. No blinking. No expression. Just hollow eyes drinking you in. If you scream, your voice will vanish before it escapes your lips, swallowed by the silence like a stone dropped into a bottomless well. And then you'll hear the applause, not loud, not joyful, but a steady, brittle pattering, like skeletal hands striking together in mockery. That's when you'll realize, you're not a guest in this theater. You're the next performance. The stage lights will flare on, blinding and hot, though no one has touched them. A spotlight will pin you in place, your shadow stretching long and jagged across the cracked floorboards. The curtain will rise, groaning like old wood bending under a weight too heavy to bear. And behind it, you'll see them, actors with stitched mouths, eyes clouded with dust, skin gray as ash. They move like marionettes pulled on strings you can't see, their heads lolling at impossible angles, their joints popping with each step. One of them will reach out a trembling hand toward you, and even though you'll try to recoil, your legs won't move. The silence holds you, rooting you to the ground, as if the theater itself is tightening its grip around your body. The actor's fingers will brush your face, ice cold, leaving a smear of black ash on your skin. When you blink, that ash will spread, crawling across your cheeks like veins until it seeps into your mouth, choking you from the inside. And you'll understand then, every performance adds one more actor to their cast. The audience of shadows will rise, shuffling closer, their footsteps echoing like bones clattering down an empty hallway. You'll feel their hands on your shoulders, pressing you forward, forcing you toward the stage. You'll fight, you'll thrash, but the more you resist, the deeper the silence digs into you. Until finally, you'll stumble onto the boards, the curtain closing behind you with a sound like a coffin lid sealing shut. When the lights return, you'll be dressed in tatters, your skin powdered white, your lips sealed into that eternal, soundless scream. And the worst part? You'll still feel everything. You'll watch from behind your stitched mouth as others stumble into the theater, pulled by the same curiosity that doomed you. You'll want to warn them, to scream for them to run. But all that escapes is silence. And the silence will stretch, and grow, and feed on them, until they too are dragged onto the stage to join you. So if you ever feel the urge to wander into an abandoned theater, if you ever hear the echo of applause with no audience, don't step inside. Don't look toward the stage. Don't wait for the show to begin. Because once the silence swallows you, you'll never leave. You'll be part of the cast forever, bound in darkness, rehearsing a play that never ends, while the audience of shadows applauds in their endless, hollow rhythm. And somewhere, if you listen closely enough, you might just hear me, behind the curtain, locked in that eternal performance, still screaming into the silence. Screaming for you.